The Great Wall of China was not built all at once. It grew across 2,000 years, assembled by dozens of kingdoms, dynasties, and emperors, each adding their own sections, abandoning others, and sometimes tearing down the work of their predecessors to reuse the materials. The oldest sections date to the 7th century BC, when the warring states of northern China began building earthen barriers to protect themselves from each other, and from the nomadic horsemen of the Mongolian steppe who raided their farms and cities with devastating speed. The first emperor to unify the walls into a single defensive system was Qin Shi Huang, who conquered all rival kingdoms and declared himself the first emperor of China in 221 BC. He ordered General Meng Tian to connect and extend the existing walls into a continuous barrier along the empire's northern frontier. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers, peasants, and convicted criminals were conscripted into the labor force. They worked in some of the harshest terrain on Earth, from scorching deserts to frozen mountain passes, using whatever materials were available. In the western deserts, they packed layers of gravel and reeds. In the eastern mountains, they stacked stones without mortar. The human cost was staggering. Workers toiled from dawn to dusk under armed guards, carrying earth and stone on their backs up steep mountainsides. They were fed barely enough to survive and died from exhaustion, exposure, disease, and malnutrition in numbers that may have reached hundreds of thousands. Chinese folklore holds that the wall is the longest cemetery on Earth, with the bodies of dead workers entombed within its foundations. One famous legend tells of a woman named Meng Jiangnu, whose husband was conscripted to build the wall. When she traveled to find him and learned he had died, her weeping was so powerful that a section of the wall collapsed, revealing his bones. Successive dynasties maintained, extended, or neglected the wall according to their strategic needs. The Han Dynasty pushed the wall far into the western deserts to protect the Silk Road, the vital trade route that connected China to Rome. The Sui Dynasty rebuilt crumbling sections with forced labor. The Tang Dynasty, confident in its military superiority, largely ignored the wall and expanded through diplomacy and offensive warfare instead. When the Mongols under Genghis Khan swept into China in the 13th century, the wall proved useless. The Mongols simply went around it, bribed guards to open the gates, or overwhelmed the garrisons with numbers and siege weapons. The wall that stands today and that tourists visit is primarily the work of the Ming Dynasty, which ruled China from 1368 to 1644. The Ming had overthrown the Mongol Yuan dynasty and lived in constant fear of another invasion from the north. They launched the most ambitious building campaign in the wall's history, replacing the old earthen ramparts with brick and stone fortifications that stretched over 5,000 miles across mountains, deserts, and river valleys. Watchtowers were built every few hundred meters, equipped with smoke signal systems that could relay warnings from the frontier to the capital in Beijing within hours. The Ming Wall was an engineering marvel. Its foundation was made of granite blocks, its core was packed earth and rubble, and its outer facing was mortared brick. The mortar was made partly from sticky rice flour, which made it extraordinarily strong and resistant to weathering. The wall averaged 25 feet in height and 15 feet in width at the top, wide enough for 5 horsemen to ride abreast. At its most heavily fortified sections near Beijing, the wall featured double and triple walls, moats, and fortresses that housed garrisons of thousands of soldiers. Yet even the Ming Wall ultimately failed in its purpose. In 1644, a Manchu army from the north conquered China and established the Qing dynasty, not by breaching the wall, but because a Chinese general named Wu Sangui opened the gates at Shanhai Pass to let them through, hoping to use the Manchu forces against a rebel army that had already captured Beijing. The Great Wall, built at the cost of countless lives across 2 millennia, was defeated by a single act of betrayal. Today it stretches across the landscape of northern China like a stone dragon sleeping on the mountains, a monument to the ambition, cruelty, and genius of the civilization that built it, and a reminder that no wall, however great, can protect a nation from the enemies within.